came to Thessaloniki an amazing jury. All of the members are quite distinguished in their fields. It's really an honor. I feel gratified that after so many years we managed to attract the attention and the participation of these excellent professionals in the field of cinema. President of the jury is a very well-known film director, American film director, of Greek origins so far, and he's of course Alexander Payne. He's been here with us in the past. His latest film is also shown at the end of the festival. We're very proud to have him preside this jury this year. I should also like to mention Scott Fundas, a very important, very well-read and respected and feared film critic from New York. Quite a personality. I'm really very proud that he's here with us. Ada Solomon, the most distinguished producer of Romanian cinema, with lots of awards, international awards to her credit. I'm again very proud. I just can't believe how I convinced her to find the time and join us this year in Thessaloniki. I think she was attracted by the nice company that I mentioned she would be surrounded with, so there she is. Edouard Weintraub, a wonderful background as a film journalist for 25, 26 years in the most important, to me anyway, French newspaper, La Libération. Also very active in many fields of film, and for the past years, director of the Quinzaine des Réalisateurs, this very important part of the Cannes Film Festival. We're really very proud that he found the time to join us and to be here with us. And finally, our own Konstantinos Vita. I don't know if I need to say, oh, there he is, I didn't see you. There he is, a distinguished musician and painter as well, and so on, multi-talented person. And again, he was, I think it was a personal success that I convinced him to be here, to give us the time and be with us to see the films and evaluate them. I don't want to take more of your time. I will give the word to my colleague, Yorgos, to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. Before I open this up to the audience, I would like to ask a few things, and starting with, how do you see your role as a member of a jury that has to decide between films and award some and leave some others out in the cold? Is it hard to do? How do you go about it?
This one? Okay. How do we do it, and what is my job? Well, with such a jury of people who really understand film and art and culture, I am merely primus inter pares, the first among equals. And so I have no more influence than any other member. I just say on Tuesday we're going to have a meeting, on Thursday we're going to have another meeting, and on Friday night we'll decide. And look, how do we do it? I always think a film festival jury should have two perspectives. One, we bring all of our film knowledge and our film appreciation and everything. And on the other hand, we have to pretend that every movie we see with the eyes of a child, like it's the first film we ever see in our lives.
Anyone else would like to say something or comment on that? feel free.
It's nice how everyone is paying such close attention.
So first of all, I would say that I am more than honored to be part of Thessaloniki jury. It's a festival that I appreciate very much and that helped me very much in my career with all the elements that are in the festival, not only the competition and the programming, but also the sidebars, the industry events, and all that is going on in Thessaloniki during the festival. So I'm really very honored to be part of the jury, and even a little bit, I don't know the word exactly in English, overwhelmed by the company that I have. I have to say that besides I think it's also a kind of egoist attitude that I have, because I will grab a lot from the films. I will learn a lot. I know that it's happening every time because each film is getting us into a different universe and a different vision, and this is enriching us, plus the discussions that we will have and all this debate and viewing films with different eyes and discussing all this. It's very, very beneficial for each of us, I think. And I don't think that we are here to make a ranking. We are here to celebrate films and to judge with our hearts. I think it's already a very big achievement to have a film in a competition of this level, like Thessaloniki's Film Festival competition. And from here on, the one that will get an award is just a matter of the sensibility and the approach of the jury, and it doesn't say that this film is the best film and the other one it's less best and so on. I don't like to make hierarchies like this, and I don't think it's something that is really written in stone.
But Edouard or Scott, you both have this role of judging films one way or another. I mean, you're a film critic and you select films you've been a film critic and you select films for Cannes or for the Quinzaine des Réalisateurs. So how do you see being on the other side of this cinematic spectrum? How does you see your role in it, in a jury?
It's easier because to prepare Cannes, you have to see 700 movies, and we have only, 12 or 14 movies to see, so it's easier here. And that's not the same thing because there is no pressure, it's only pleasure, and the pressure of pleasure is so good, so well, that it's something we cannot miss.
Yeah, and I don't have to go and write about the movies afterwards, so there's pleasure there also. But having been on Edouard's side of the fence when I worked for the New York Film Festival, it's also different because when you're selecting movies for a festival, you're often seeing rough cuts, unfinished films, incomplete work, and here we're seeing the film as the filmmaker intended it to be seen publicly, so there's a difference there also. But for me, the greatest thing is simply that I've seen only one of these films previously, so I'm discovering films that I missed at other festivals. I have already seen films I'm very glad to have been able to catch up with, so for me that's part of the enticement of being here.
Constantine, you are the one person in the jury that you're not directly involved with film. You have worked as a composer for movies. Your music is very cinematic in a way, so how do you see your role in this company? Okay, he will speak in Greek, so maybe you want to put on your headphones. Περίμενε.
Και εγώ είμαι πολύ χαρούμενος που βρίσκομαι για πρώτη φορά στο φεστιβάλ. Έχω έρθει και σαν θαμώνας και σαν αρκετές φορές. Είναι τιμή μου που βρίσκομαι σε αυτούς τους αξιόλογους ανθρώπους και μοιράζομαι πράγματα και μέσα από τις ταινίες περιμένω κάθε φορά να επικοινωνήσω με αυτό το συναίσθημα που υπάρχει, με αυτό το χτύπο που υπάρχει παγκόσμια σε ολόκληρη τη γη και αφορά μέσα από το σινεμά ουσιαστικά σπάνε τα σύνορα και δεν υπάρχουν πατρίδες. Δηλαδή αυτό είναι το ωραίο και βλέπεις μέσα από τις ταινίες αυτές, τις καινούργιες, τι κοινά έχουμε με όλους τους ανθρώπους και τους συνανθρώπους μας. Τι μας χωρίζουν, τι μας ενώνουν και είναι πραγματικά μια πολύ ωραία εμπειρία το να μαθαίνεις μέσα από αυτούς τους νέους σκηνοθέτες όλα αυτά τα πράγματα που έχουν να μοιραστούν, τις ιστορίες τους. Βέβαια, εγώ αυτό που περιμένω πραγματικά να δω κάποια στιγμή είναι ένας προβληματισμός μου, είναι ένα ερώτημά μου, να μπορέσει ο κινηματογράφος να μετουσιωθεί, δηλαδή πραγματικά να δούμε αυτή την έβδομη τέχνη και όχι οι σκηνοθέτες πια να μένουν μόνο στις ιστορίες. Δηλαδή, ναι μεν βλέπουμε ιστορίες απανωτές, δηλαδή ο καθένας έχει να πει μια ιστορία, αλλά αυτό που περιμένω να δω είναι πραγματικά η μετουσίωση του σινεμά. Δηλαδή, να μπορέσει να τρυπήσει, να βγεις πίσω από την κεντρική ιστορία και να δημιουργήσεις και την ποίηση ταυτόχρονα του κινηματογράφου, που αυτό είναι ουσιαστικά. Δεν είναι μόνο το να διαβάζει τις ιστορίες των ανθρώπων.
And what about the others of you? What are you waiting for? What are you looking forward in seeing in the films you're going to be watching, you have watched and you're going to be watching in the next few days? What are you looking for? What makes a good movie for you?
Well, I think, when you have a competition like this that's mostly emerging filmmakers, you're hoping to discover the next generation of interesting voices, and not just in terms of the directors, but in terms of the screenwriters, the actors. Obviously, we have to award many prizes in all of these categories, and I think, already one has the feeling, we've seen, 4 films, that there's a lot of very exciting young talent emerging in these films.
Alexander, would you like to say something?
We love movies, and I think film festivals are like baptismal parties. A new film comes into the world, it's like a birth, it's like the birth of a baby, and if it's a good movie, we're going to have this baby around for the rest of our lives, and we'll think about it and we'll see it again. So a film festival is like a baptism party.
So you're kind of the godfathers, right?
Well, let's not exaggerate.
Is there any questions from you? Υπάρχει κάποια ερώτηση από εσάς? So I'll ask another until you get warmed up. I was wondering, you all work in different films in cinema, you have worked in cinema. How does your different professions, I don't know, makes you think differently about the films you see? Do you watch them as a whole, or I don't know, you look at the production values, I don't know, you hear the music mostly? How does it work for you? Or
no, I'm trying to keep the pleasure, and I'm watching films with the eye of a simple audience. I want to embark into a journey, and I don't want to. If I will start looking at the technical elements and this thing, I think the battle is lost. I prefer to judge the films with my heart and with my soul, and to grab from the films, not to look into the technical aspects. I don't care about them when I see a film. Then maybe in order to make an analysis on how and what and how the things were put together, but this comes far after I've seen, and I took it with my heart. It's always with the heart, it's not with the brains.
I, on the other hand, can't avoid looking at the technical aspects at the same time that I'm looking at it like a child. So, and in judging a film for a film festival, I'm very conscious of the three aspects of filmmaking: the screenplay, the directing, and the editing. And separating those things and putting them together.
But I suppose when you watch a film that you really like, don't you forget about it for a minute, or are you conscious all the time?
That means it's a good movie. If you forget those things, it's a really good movie.
Do we have a question?
So we are not allowed to talk about films of the international competition, so I'm going to ask something about the Greek films. The last years we have a new wave of Greek cinema. For instance, last night we saw an amazing film by Alexandros Sabranas, Miss Violence. On those films they go around all the festivals, maybe not so many in Directors Fortnight, but doesn't matter. And so I want your opinion about that new wave of Greek cinema.
I don't like, the labels, so I'm judging only the directors. There was so many things which were wrong written on the French New Wave that you cannot afford to put a new label. Every year there is a new wave of somewhere. So we are in Greece. There are some very good Greek directors. That's not new. And there will be. And that's all I can say. After, it's the problem of each director and the reception we can have of his films. So I don't like to speak about the Argentinian New Wave, the Peruvian New Wave, the Brazilian New Wave, the Italian New Wave, and the Greek New Wave.
I think what we know is that these are all a kind of, they're ways of films getting noticed. You know, I've written a lot about the Romanian New Wave, and the Berlin School in Germany, all of whose alleged members reject that label and say we're not part of any formalized movement. But what we know is it's a way by which critics and journalists address this phenomenon that's happening. And certainly people are paying attention to Greece now in a way that they were not even 10 years ago, just in terms of the number of Greek films that are showing in international festivals and getting commercial distribution internationally. Certainly Dogtooth is the one that threw open the floodgates. And now let's see. You know, I think we know there's 3 or 4 very interesting people, young people who are making films now in Greece, and hopefully there's another 3, 4 or more coming up behind them, and we'll have a whole range of different kinds of films, the way that we're now seeing coming from Romania, not just movies about communist time and so forth, but comedies, romantic comedies, movies about bourgeois everyday life. So I think that's, I think we're all waiting to see what happens. It's just the beginning of something that feels that it could be very interesting.
Would you say that with your mic open?
Simfono.
Anyone else would like to add something on that question, or yeah?
Τα τελευταία χρόνια ο κινηματογράφος...
Περιμένετε λίγο. Okay.
Τα τελευταία χρόνια ο κινηματογράφος είναι δρομολογημένος σε 2 μεγάλα ρεύματα. Στο κινηματογράφο των Masters.
Το ξαναλέτε γιατί υπάρχει κάποιο πρόβλημα με το μικρόφωνο.
Λέω ότι ο τελευταίος κινηματογράφος είναι δρομολογημένος σε 2 μεγάλα ρεύματα. Κινηματογράφο των μεγάλων στούντιος, τα blockbusters, και τον ανεξάρτητο η οικονομική κρίση που δεν είναι πλέον ελληνική ή ευρωπαϊκή μόνο, έχει φτάσει και στις δύο πλευρές του Ατλαντικού. Έχει επηρεάσει αυτό το ρεύμα, γιατί βλέπουμε ότι και στο Φεστιβάλ Κινηματογράφου Θεσσαλονίκης πλέον είναι μόνο ανεξάρτητο, είναι πρόσωπος και του κινηματογράφου και της ποιότητας και των συνεφίλ, αλλά πόσο έχει επηρεάσει διεθνώς η οικονομική κρίση αυτή την εξάπλωση των δύο ρευμάτων, τη διαφοροποίησή τους ή αν θέλετε την διόγκωση του ανεξάρτητου κινηματογράφου παγκοσμίως. Ευχαριστώ.
Anyone want to tackle that? Start?
I can take it. I don't know if it's just the economic crisis or it's the crisis in cinema or whatever it is. What I think is that, in fact, we have to do with fast food cinema and gourmet cinema. Slow food, food for thought, things that are staying with you long after the film is over. Films that are making you interested in other matters, that are sending you to different other form of art or realities around you, and so on and so forth. And I think that the people are now more hungry for original stuff than they are in the speed to grab something just to be to have eaten. Of course, it's not easy for the mass audience to discover a taste. When you have eaten all your lives only French fries, no offense, it's difficult to discover the taste of caviar. You need to swallow little by little, and for this, I think that this kind of events, like the festivals, like the special programs, like the meetings with people from the film industry, from the film critics as well as the artists, all this interference, it's feeding the taste for cinema. It's not easy to get into the large distribution, and it's true for all around the world. But in the same time, I think this is the only way that cinema will really continue, because the classical distribution and the mass distribution in the theaters as we had it before, I don't think it's the future for it. Maybe the digital distribution will be, maybe other forms of spreading the films, but it's for sure that we are in a moment where we have to change massively our look into the way the knowledge about films that are on the market is created.
I would just add that on the specific subject of the economic crisis, I think you are now seeing that as a direct or indirect subject in movies coming from almost everywhere in the world, including even Hollywood, which is traditionally very averse to making movies about poor people, and which often shows people who have jobs like journalists living in extravagant apartments that they could never actually afford in real life. But now, if you think about a movie like Bridesmaids last year, that the fact that the main character in that movie can't afford to buy a plane ticket to go from Detroit to Las Vegas is something relatively rare to see in a mainstream Hollywood movie, and it shows that even there, people are starting to acknowledge now what the economic realities of a large percentage of the audience, in fact, are.
Even Nebraska, it shows up in Nebraska.
Well, but it shows up in Alexander's films, but I don't think of Alexander as a big studio Hollywood director. Always in independent films, you do have some more acknowledgement of social realities. But yes, this guy is a rare bird here.
In some countries, the cinema is in danger because of the crisis. In Spain, for example, in Portugal now, and I think in Greece maybe, cinema, the producers have no money, and the state is not helping anymore the cinema. So there are also consequences like that of the crisis. I'm not sure that crisis is worldwide exactly on the same level. For example, in South America now there is a lot of money which goes to cinema. So the production in Latin America is going up. So it's very, from a country to another country, you can see different situations. But in Europe, especially in the south of Europe, the cinema is in danger.
We have a question here.
Hi, I would like to ask how possible is the audience's opinion, to agree with your judgment? How possible is the audience's opinion about a movie to agree with your judgment?
Anything is possible.
Even that. Κύριος Γρήβας.
Well, if I try to sum up what you've said before about crisis, about new waves, etc., especially what Mr. Weintraub said about national cinema being in crisis and being in danger, I would like to revert the question and ask you, how do you explain that all through the times we have national cinematographies that have been and are in the vogue, à la mode? It's a very interesting phenomenon. For instance, Greek cinema right now, it is à la vogue. We know, obviously, à la vogue, à la mode, sorry. Sorry. But then you know very well what happened with Hungarian cinema, what happened with Spanish cinema under Franco, what happened with Turkish cinema, Güney. So we have, if we see in the back, that every time there is a vogue. This time is Greece, but also Romania before. Can you explain how this is shaped and what are the reasons behind that, apart from the economic crisis? It's kind of, Mexican cinema also. Is it a kind of exotism also?
Maybe a little bit of exotism, but also the newspapers have to sell themselves, so they have to put some titles, and you know, the new wave is something which can be sold very easily, and to find something, I know, because I was doing the same thing. I've been during 26 years selling the same stuff, so I know how it's working. You know, when you are discovering 3 good Argentinian movies of young directors, you say there is an Argentinian new wave, and during 5 years, the Argentinian cinema was fashionable everywhere in the world. It didn't help anybody to make better films after. So the slogan, the label disappeared. And that would be the same for Greece or for other countries like Israel or Romania, if it's only the labels which